We've had lots of enquiries about the question order in the 18th edition exam, and other exam related things, such as finding where to look in the book for an answer. So we decided to make this LearnElectrics video on question order and tips on searching for those time-saving keywords in the exam. Frequently asked, how many questions are there? Are the questions in any particular order as you go through the exam? How do I know which part of the book they are from? And how many questions are there on each part? We'll begin with a brief introduction to what the exam is about, do's and don'ts, and so on. And the video has several sample questions that show you how to look for the keywords in each question, how to look where the answer comes from, and why it is in that part of the book, and so on. Above all, we hope to impress upon you the need to keep practicing the questions, keep revising. Repetition is the key to locking information into your memory. Write down the questions, write down the answers, it all helps. The exam has several learning outcomes. The exam is broken down into separate sections of learning and understanding. Each outcome matters, but each is also rated on importance, and the more important outcomes have more questions than others. For example, Protection for Safety, Part 4, and Selecting and Erecting Equipment, Part 5, are very important in our work, to the extent that, together, those two parts make up almost 50% of the exam questions. The table shown here should give you an idea of the spread of questions. Generally, it will be something like that shown here, and most times it is in the part order as it appears in the book, but there are no cast iron guarantees on the order. You cannot write down the previous table and take it into the exam, so, as a memory aid, this drawing will help you if you keep it in mind. Think of the exam as being split into 4 blocks, approximately 25% of the exam in each block. Parts 1 to 3 will occupy the first quarter of the questions. Part 4 will take up the whole of the next 25%, and so will Part 5. The rest of the book is covered by the remaining 25% of the questions. This means that Parts 4 and 5 will have half the exam questions. If you're on question 10, it is unlikely to be a question on Part 6. Question 5 is going to be on Part 1, 2 or 3, probably Part 2, and so on. I hope you get the idea. Think, what question number am I on? Where in the book is it likely to be? What is permitted in the exam? Always an often asked question. Your exam centre should tell you what is and isn't permitted, but generally you will need a basic calculator with addition, subtraction, multiply, divide and square root. You will need the BS 7671 wiring regulations book, the Brown book, to amendment number 2. Properly, it is called the IET wiring regulations BS 7671 2018, amendment 2 2022. And no, the blue amendment 1 book will not do the job. And take some notepaper and pencils into the exam. You cannot take a pad filled with notes from the course. The paper you take in must have nothing written on it. And do make sure that you can use the calculator functions listed above. It is not the exam invigilator's job to show you how to use a calculator. And not permitted are things like programmable calculators, any sort of phones or communication device, electronic tablets and electronic notebooks, smartwatches, smartphones, etc., and anything with the ability to connect to the internet. Basically, they don't want you to cheat or have an unfair advantage. It must be your own work. Nothing should be written inside the regulations book either, except perhaps any legitimate publishing corrections and updates. You cannot write formulas into the book or search tips given to you by the tutor. The exam is about finding and using the information that is in the book or in your head. Having said that, post-it tabs on the edges can be used to identify part numbers, etc. But the number that you use should be limited. Some exam centres will provide you with their own clean copies of the regulations, just for exam use, so that they know that the book is unmarked. Another question is about the exam options. The exam is 60 questions with a time limit of 2 hours. At one time, there was an option to sit a refresher exam, just 30 questions, if your previous qualification permitted this. Sadly, this is not the case anymore. Everyone that needs an 18th edition qualification must sit the full 60-question exam. There is no alternative. And another question that is asked: if I already have the 18th edition Amendment 1 qualification, must I sit another exam for the Amendment 2 update? Well, the answer is no. There is no requirement to sit an 18th edition Amendment 2 exam if you already have 18th edition to a previous amendment. It is assumed that your knowledge and experience should be sufficient for you to understand any changes that have been made. Now we can look at how to find the keywords from each question. It is the keywords that will help you to find the right part and the right regulation number to answer the question quickly and easily. Learning Outcome 1 is to do with Part 1 of the book. Do you understand the scope, object, and fundamental principles of the regulations? This information about part numbers will not be provided in the exam. It is only included here to help you to understand what to do. In the exam, you will not be told which part of the book the question relates to. Pause the video after reading the question and attempt the answer. Then, the following slide or two will work through the question. Find the keyword, find the right regulation, and so on. Follow the working out of the answer. Learn to follow a similar method. It works. Question 1 asks, which type of electrical installation is included in the scope of BS 7671 wiring regulations? And there are 4 possible answer choices. Only one is appropriate for this question. This type of question will always come up in every exam. Guaranteed. Learn to find the correct pages quickly. The keyword here is scope. Part 1 is the scope, object, and fundamental principles, and the contents page on page 3 tells us to look on page 20, where it tells us that the regulations apply to, and then a list of installations. Scanning down the list, you will come to number 23, or XX111, which says electric vehicle charging. There is your answer. Electric vehicle charging installations. Choose answer B. Easy if you start by looking for keywords and then compare the keywords to the contents on page 3. Staying with outcome 1, the scope, etc., this next one is a not question. Many people get these questions wrong because they do not read the question properly. They skip straight past the word not. They don't even see it. Let's look. Question 2 then. Which type of electrical installation is not included in the scope of BS 7671 wiring regulations? Remember, it's a not question. Pause the video and have a go. 2 keywords here, not included and scope. Find these words on the page 3 contents page. We were on page 20 last time. The not included answers are on page 21. Go there now. Regulation 110.2 is where we should be. Exclusions from the scope. In other words, not included. And there, at number 11, or X1, we find electrical equipment of machines. So choose answer D. Question 3 is about learning outcome number 2. Understand the definitions used in BS 7671. Do not guess definitions questions. They expect you to match answers almost word for word. The only sure way is to find the definition and the words that match. It asks, BS 7671 defines Earth as what? And 4 choices. Find Earth in definitions and then find the only answer that closely matches the words in the regs book. Pause the video, find the answer. The keyword is defines. It is pointing you at part 2, definitions. Go there now. They start on page 29. Then look on page 33 for the word Earth. On its own, as in the question, nothing else. Now find a match for the wording. There is only one match, and your answer is B. Question 4 is to do with learning outcome number 3, the assessment of general characteristics of the installation. Look at this on page 3 under part 3. In assessing the general characteristics of an installation, we must determine the maximum demand of an installation and may take what into account. The question is asking what might change the overall maximum demand. Pause the video and choose an answer. The big keywords here are assessing the general characteristics, and on page 3, part 3 clearly says assessment of general characteristics and directs us to page 51. And on page 51 we find, in chapter 31, the words diversity may be taken into account, and we should choose answer A. Question 5 is about part 4 of the regs, and in the exam, expect 14 or 15 questions on part 4. That is close to 25% of the questions, a quarter of the exam. You must know how to find answers in part 4. Part 4 is all about protection for safety, protection from electric shocks, fire, overcurrents and voltage disturbances such as lightning. To minimise the risk of fire, what should be the minimum distance between a 200-watt spotlight and combustible constructional material? Find the key words in the question, consult page 3, contents, to find the right part, and then find the right chapter and regulation. The key words here are risk of fire, and fire is a thermal effect, and combustible constructional materials. Protecting against fire is one method of protection for safety. Here it is called protection against thermal effects, and we are sent to page 84. On page 84 is the opening page for chapter 42. A few lines down is combustible constructional materials, another of our key words. It tells us to look at regulation 422.4, which begins on page 89. Well, we want the list on page 90. Find regulation 422.4.2 and read off the correct distance, 0.8 meters, and choose answer B. On to question 6, to do with part 5, understanding the requirements for selection and erection of equipment. In the exam, expect 14 or 15 questions on part 5, about 25% of the exam questions. We are asked, when selecting a copper earthing conductor that is to be buried, what should be the minimum CSA if the conductor will not be protected against corrosion? Again, find the key words. Then check these against page 3 contents. Find the part number and chapter that will lead you to an answer. Selecting, earthing conductor, copper and buried are key words for this question. Looking at page 3, the blue box, we can see that part 5 is called selection and erection of equipment. That's the first keyword. A few lines down is chapter 54, earthing arrangements, another keyword. It tells us to go to page 197. Page 3 then has taken us to page 197, but look at the page on the left, page 196. Part way down is 542.3 earthing conductors, the other key word. So go to 542.3 on page 198. There you will find table 54.1 about cross-sectional areas, or CSA, for buried earthing conductors. Look for not protected against corrosion. Then look for copper, and there is the answer we seek. The minimum size, or CSA, should be 25 square millimeters. Question 7 is also on part 5 of the regulations book. This time you will need to use a calculator. Let's look. The minimum cross-sectional area, or S, of a protective conductor is to be calculated using the values shown. What is the minimum size that should be selected from those 4 on offer? Pause the video and attempt an answer. The keywords here might be cross-sectional area and protective conductor. The word calculated also gives us a clue that we are expected to use a calculator for this question. Starting at page 3, we can see that part 5 includes chapter 54, where we were for the last question. It is called earthing arrangements and protective conductors, one of the key words. Looking at chapter 54, page 196 again, we can see protective conductors, and we can see cross-sectional areas, regulation 543.1. Go there now, page 199, and look for a calculation or formula. Here we are on page 199, and there is the formula that we will use. All the values that we need have been provided in the yellow box. We just need to plug them into the formula and press a few buttons. And I squared is just I times I. So, calculate 700 multiplied by 700 multiplied by 0.4 first, and then square root that answer. That will give us 442.72 for the top line. Now divide 442.72 by 115, and we have an answer of 3.85 square millimeters for S. This is the smallest size that S can be, so we should choose the 4 square millimeter size from the answer choices offered, and our answer is B. And that is as difficult as the calculations will be. You may only have 1 calculation in the exam, you may have 3. Nobody knows until the day. The important thing is to practice using the actual calculator that you will use in the exam. Become an expert with your calculator. Trust me, in the exam, it matters. Question 8 will test your understanding of the requirements for the inspection and testing of installations. The question asks us, which document is issued following a periodic inspection and test? 4 answer choices, only 1 is correct. Find your keywords and work from there. Go to page 3, find part 6, inspection and testing, and there are the key words. Chapter 65 is what we're looking for, periodic inspection and testing. Key words again, page 239. And there, at the bottom of page 239, is what we're looking for. The words, an electrical installation condition report shall be produced. Choose answer B. Now to question number 9. Understand the requirements of special locations, part 7 of the book. Electrical equipment installed in agricultural or horticultural premises shall have a minimum degree of protection against external influences of, and 4 choices. Find the key words. The key words we should pick out from the question are agricultural or horticultural premises, minimum degree of protection, and external influences. Now compare these to page 3. Halfway down page 3, we will find section 705, Agricultural and Horticultural Premises, page 260. Let's go there now. Now look for the keyword external influences on page 261 and regulation 705.512.2. The first line tells us that a minimum degree of protection of IP44 is required. We must choose answer D. Finally, to question 10. Understand the requirements of Part 8 and the appendices. Within a prosumer's low-voltage electrical installation, and following the PEI concept, what item is considered to be both a generator and load? For some people, the word prosumer is new to them. It just means an installation and equipment that can both produce electricity and consume it. Join the two words together and they came up with prosumer. Look for the keywords again. The keywords here are prosumer's low voltage electrical installation and PEI concept. Back to page 3, the contents page, and find where the answer will be. We can find part 8 and prosumer, and this sends us to page 352. But go back one page to page 351, the chapter 82 contents page, and now we can see the other keywords: PEI concept, regulation 823. Turning to page 353, we have regulation 823, and then, a few lines down, under note, it says, a battery can be considered as a generator and as a load. So choose answer C, battery. Practice is the key to understanding the wiring regulations. Watch the videos, pause the video, and attempt the questions. If you want maximum results from your learning, don't just read the question and answer, do more. On a piece of paper, write out the question. Actually look at the answer in the book or on the video and write out the correct answer. Throw the paper away and start again. Write out the question, look at the answer in the book, and then write out the answer. Throw it away and start again. Every time you do this, you reinforce your learning. Do the same the next day. A different video if you wish. It will teach you to use the book. We hope you've enjoyed the video and we thank you for watching. It really is appreciated. Watch out for more questions and answer videos on the electrical exams. Please subscribe to our channel to get access to all of our videos, and remember to click on notify to be sure of not missing our next video. And you will find even more information, videos and help on our website at LearnElectrics.com. And don't forget that you can also type in LearnElectrics, all one word, into the YouTube search bar to go directly to our channel at any time from any computer. We are constantly adding new videos to our channel, so don't miss the next one. And once again, thank you for watching, and we hope to see you again very soon.